Hello everyone. So let's start now with some of the knowledge we gained with the setup and understanding where to write our code or our first few statements. In the last video we discussed using WriteLine to write values out like hello world out to the console window, and for a quick refresher I'll show you what that looks like. Hello world. So now I want to teach you what expressions are, arithmetic operators, or basically plus, minus, division, multiplication, things you should be familiar with already, and break down what we're looking at with the syntax here. So when you're writing in a natural language like English, you have punctuation that identifies certain things within a text. So let's say we're writing an essay. You would create sentences, compose those sentences together into paragraphs, put those paragraphs together into an essay. And at the high level, at a high level language like we're doing with C#, using with C#, it's a very similar context. So instead of periods in the English language, in C#, we denote statements with semicolons. So think of a semicolon being the equivalent of period. Okay, so with that understanding, you see that we have two statements here. We have console.WriteLine, and then this is the end of a statement, so think of that as one sentence. Console.ReadKey, semicolon, that's the second sentence. So we have a couple of sentences here, and just like if you were writing an essay of 250 or 300 words or a full-blown book, you would just have another statement and another statement and another statement, or another sentence and another sentence and another sentence to express what you're trying to say. Same thing with C#. We're just putting statements together in a sequence, so they're executing from top down in a very procedural way, starting with this one and moving its way down from left to right. So those are statements. Now, we had discussed using hello world in the last video and writing that out to the console. This console.WriteLine, console.ReadKey, we'll get into the details of what that means with the dot. But basically right now you should understand that's your gateway to the console of reading and writing, of receiving input from the user and writing output to the user. So we had written output that said hello world, but what if we want to write out calculations? So let's say 2 plus 2. We should get 4, and we do. So we've taken what you would be familiar with in math and arithmetic, basic arithmetic, of taking two numbers, adding them together. What you'll notice that quite a bit is happening behind the scenes for you. The compiler is doing quite a bit for you, the thing that translates your text into something the machine can understand. It actually writes more code for you, and it said, okay, I see 2 plus 2. We're going to evaluate that first, get an answer from that, and then write that answer out. So if you'll understand, so you see that we've got a statement here. If you'll understand that there is a sequence of things happening. In this sequence here is this 2 plus 2 is being evaluated, and then console.WriteLine is being called. If you see something with these two parentheses, and we'll get into what methods are later, that's calling a method. And a method is a block of code. So we are saying evaluate 2 plus 2, and then call console.WriteLine to write that out to the screen. So and you can do that with all of the operators. 3 times 3. We don't use an X, we use an asterisk. 3 times 3. So let's go through quickly let's go through all of the arithmetic operators and just show you what it's like to compose statements in a sequence. So 2 plus 2, console.WriteLine, 3 times 3, console.WriteLine, 10 divided by 2, console.WriteLine, Let's go 4 minus 3. Now what you should expect, now that we have a sequence of calculations, or a sequence of console.writeLine statements, is 2 plus 2 will be evaluated, then console.writeLine will be called. Next statement. 3 times 3 will be evaluated, then console.writeLine will be called. And so on and so forth for however many statements we write, and the expected output is 4, 9, 5, and 1. If you run it, 4, 9, 5, and 1. So you see we can inject these calculations into console.writeLine, and it will write that answer out for us, these expressions. There's one more I want to show you, and it's called the modulus operator. And when we get into variables in the next video, I will show you and discuss why the modulus operator is very valuable when dealing with numbers. But if you look at 3, it's the percent symbol, mod 2, 3 modulus 2. Let's see what the output is. One. So what is it doing? This expression 3 modulus 2 is dividing 3 by 2, which would be 1, within a remainder. And modulus returns the remainder from that expression. So if we were dividing 2 mod 2, that would be 2 divided by 2. It's 0 because there's no remainder. And if we put that in comparison to division, let's do 3 divided by 2. You get 1. Now let's do 3 mod 2. You get 1. Now that seems kind of confusing at first, but we are dealing with whole numbers, integers. We're not dealing with numbers with decimals at this point. So that's our way of getting a remainder. 3 divided by 2 is 1 and a remainder. 3 mod 2 is the remainder itself. So that's the other arithmetic operator that I want you to think about. So when we think about this, when we're writing our code, we have access in the facilities to use plus, minus, division, multiplication, and modulus for doing math, which is what we need, the things that we need to start working out math calculations. Now, I said at the beginning of the video we were going to discuss expressions, and that's what they are. We have statements, and then within statements we have expressions. So let me write 2 plus 2 outside of the context and write a semicolon. I'm getting an error. So 2 plus 2 is an expression that evaluates to 4. But you can't just have a random expression laying out there as a statement, because console.writeLine takes 2 plus 2, the expression of 2 plus 2, and uses it to write a value out to the screen, write a value out to the console. So when you're starting to compose your code, understand that expressions actually have to have a value that's returned and something is done with that value. You can't just randomly put expressions out there, because if you really think about it, 2 plus 2, you're really not saying anything to the program. It's not really doing anything with that expression. Now, to segue into discussing variables, if I created an integer variable and set it equal to 2 plus 2, now we don't have a problem. And I'll explain what that is in the next video, but I'll show you that there's another way. This is another way of using console.writeLine, is to use this variable value that's taking the expression 2 plus 2 as its value, and I'm writing it out. 4. So I'll explain what I did, what the meaning of integer or int value equals 2 plus 2 is in the next video.